So the question is, how were the Rockets able to beat the Lakers so handily? And the answer is really because the Lakers, they just casually went in there with their normal lineup, having made no preparations for the Rockets' speed at all. And they also weren't showing any effort on defense, really. They did sometimes, but a lot of the time, it just kind of really sucked, you know? Like, they weren't. A lot of the time I was watching that game, I would see them, a player for the Rockets would get open, and they would just not even bother trying to contest the shot at all. They would just, like, sit there and wait for them to shoot, which, hate to break it to them, is not a very good strategy. So, I mean, and just one thing they can do next game for certain is actually give some intensity at the defensive end. I think that would help a lot. Also, the Rockets also did not have a good game. But one thing that is inexcusable about last night is that the Lakers let the Rockets have just as many rebounds as them, which that doesn't really even make sense. The Lakers have Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. They should be out rebounding the Rockets by like 15 each game, and they aren't. And the other thing that I saw was they were just going in with a normal game plan. They weren't like going out of their way to exploit Houston's weakness, like offensively, or I guess defensively. They weren't going out of their way to bully the paint, like, at all. They should have been bullying the paint to, because if they had done that, they would have been able to score at ease, I feel like. I know obviously they get stopped sometimes, but you can't tell me Anthony Davis couldn't score like 40 points by just going to the paint every time against 6'5" PJ Tucker. Like, you can't tell me he wouldn't be able to do it because I know he could. And you start to wonder why exactly they didn't. I know it's pretty rich of me to question head coach of a professional basketball team, but the move didn't make any sense. You can't play a game against these small Rockets that make up for their lack of rebounding and size with tenacity, craftiness, and forcing turnovers like crazy. And you can't just casually walk in there and not exploit their weakness in the paint. It just, you can't do that. Missed opportunity by not doing that. Um, I think another thing you need to do is stop having two big men on the floor at once because, well, here's why. If you're just chilling there with two big men on the floor at once, um, Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, one of them is going to have to come out on the perimeter. And Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, not good perimeter defenders. They're interior defensive centers. Like, they stick in the paint and block shots. That's what they're great at on defense. But, like, they're not great perimeter defenders. So, if you have Anthony Davis and JaVale McGee, or Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, if JaVale McGee's on PJ Tucker, he's going to have to come out and guard him on the perimeter. And that's not really a JaVale McGee job, Like, you need to um, you need to come out with a small lineup. Like, come on, follow the Warriors blueprint and roll out a death lineup. Just do it. Start, like Rondo at point guard, with have Rondo at point guard, Danny Green at shooting guard. You take Kyle Kuzma off the bench and play him at the three. Then LeBron is at power forward and slide AD over to center. That's a death lineup. You have the mobility to kind of, stick with the Rockets at least a lot better than you did before. You're not having two big men out on the floor at once, which is a huge bonus. And you're going to also maintain the height necessary to dominate the rebounding games on defense and get blocks. But the other thing is, all five of those players can shoot. I know Anthony Davis isn't the greatest three-point shooter, but he can shoot them. Like, just even remotely doing something like that would be highly beneficial for them, because the defense of the Rockets would have to guard against the same kind of thing they create with five shooters out. You gotta fight fire with fire in this case. You can't, hope to beat these guys, at least not in under 7, if you're gonna keep playing like this. Another thing that needs to happen, LeBron needs to not score 0 points in the fourth quarter. That's another thing that needs to stop occurring. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure it will, but like, making the point, when he doesn't score in the fourth quarter, that's a problem. And part of me thinks the Lakers just walked in there and they're like, you know what? Let's just feel him out. This is gonna be a feel out game, and I don't think you can do that. Like, is that really the smart decision to make? You can't just drop a game, not against a team as good as the Rockets. Then you're getting risky and foolish. Casually just, oh, it'll be fine. It won't be fine. Like, you can't just feel out games. You gotta go in and try to win immediately. And it feels like they kind of were just feeling out this game. In fact, LeBron alluded to after the fact that this was a feel out game, which is stupid. Yeah, so if they would just want to win too, go small, you know, to get that mobility in defense, or while maintaining defense. And stop taking so many threes. Make your offensive focus scoring in the paint. Give it to Anthony Davis and let him back down PJ Tucker, because PJ Tucker's not going to be able to stop Anthony Davis in the post. At least not very well. And then that's really the solution, to be honest. Like, you won't have nearly as much trouble keeping up with the Rockets because, they were only ever, sticking around ish for the entirety of the game. Like, I think the closest I remember it being was the Lakers within 4 a couple times, but for the most part, the Rockets had relatively comfortable lead. And, that's okay, but at the end of the day, you got to get the job done and not lose 97 to 112. It's inexcusable with all of these huge advantages you supposedly have, and then you don't use them. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, they need to make some adjustments for the next game. It's going to be rough.